A hapless handyman runs off with the insane wife of a crime lord that wants to sleep with his car. We watched Dangerous Passion as we spotlight the late great Carl Weathers, today on Nothing Movies.
Welcome back, however you wish to self-identify, to Nothing Movies, the podcast where we ask the question, the is this? It's the podcast where we go through an actor's filmography and choose the most anonymous and culturally untalked about movies that they've made and decide whether or not they've got a certain something, or if they're just a whole hell of a lot of nothing. I'm Kaz Lescart, and I threw a few words in there that I don't normally say, but that's okay, because we're always about trying new things here.
I just picked up on the hell in there, but other than that, I think that
there was a secret word. You're going to play this back later, and you're going to be like, ooh.
No, just half paid attention. Okay, I'm Jameson Rafter. I'm also on this show.
That's true. You're always speaking truth.
I am.
Which is why I pray. You're the truth sayer.
I am, yeah.
Jameson,
and you tell nothing but lies.
Exactly. One of us only speaks the truth. That's right. That's the only.
Which door do you ask the two guards?
It's the only podcast hosted by those two guards at the end of a labyrinth.
Yeah.
And today we talked about it at the tail end of our last episode, and we're following through. Because that's one thing this podcast is all about, is following through.
Sticking to our promises.
Today we're going to be discussing the life and career of gone too soon, Mr. Carl Weathers. I mean, he was in his 70s. That's an age that people die
He didn't look it.
He did not look that. He was a man. Man, watching this movie last night. Oh, boy. Carl Weathers was a good-looking man in all aspects.
Yeah,
and, you know,
in the prime of his life, he is better than most men in the prime of their lives.
And looks better than most men in the tail end of their lives.
Yeah.
So there we go.
But yeah, we're spotlighting Carl Weathers because we wanted to honor him because we're such big fans, and we're taking a bit of a swerve from our themed year. I think you got 3 episodes in and you're like, I gotta run down an actor's filmography. I can't do it anymore, Jameson. I can't do it.
Well, look, we originally were going to tie this into our next trilogy of films, our next theme of films, and it sort of tangentially works for the theme of what we were talking about, because this is a television movie that we are talking about, and the next theme that we'll be doing will be failed TV pilots turned into television movies. And we looked really hard. Well, I looked semi-hard.
Whoa.
I looked reasonably hard for a Carl Weathers TV pilot turned TV movie that was like a failed series. Didn't quite work out. We found one called Fortune Dane that wasn't actually a failed TV pilot because it made it to 6 episodes.
Yeah.
That was the closest we got.
Yeah. 6 episodes and canceled is considered a success.
That's success.
Criteria.
That's a success right there. Yeah. But no, we're here to talk about Carl Weathers. We're talking about his life, his career, and his passions, because he was a man with many passions. But sometimes, Jameson, those passions, they weren't safe.
Oh.
Sometimes they were dangerous passions from the year 1990.
Boy, what an exciting and titillating title.
It's right up there with Separate Lives and whatever other Skinamax borderline movies that we've talked about in the past. Just the most like generic sounding of titles. But yes, I was pushing for this one. We were debating between 2 movies. I pushed for this one for 2 reasons. 1, it was on YouTube and we didn't have to pay for it. 2, it is the only time that Carl Weathers and Billy Dee Williams starred in a movie together.
Yeah.
2 actors who, of course, both have the connection with Star Wars. 2 actors that, over the course of their careers, many people claimed to have gotten confused with each other.
Is it because of the mustaches?
Well, here's the thing. When I read that, I was reading that. That's one of the.
And you put like them and Lionel Richie in the room together.
Can't do it.
That Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, the Spider-Man meme. Anyway, yeah, I read that. That's part of like the trivia for this movie. When I read that, I immediately got indignant.
Yeah.
And I immediately came from a place of, I have never once confused Billy Dee Williams and Carl Weathers. They're what? Oh, what? What are you saying, society? Because a black man has a mustache, he obviously must be the same person? 10 minutes into this movie, Jameson, I gotta admit, I kind of see it. I kind of get it. They kind of look like the same guy. I'm sorry.
I never got that.
They kind of have similar. When they're in the same frame, you got gotta admit, they kind of have similar facial features.
They don't have the same frame.
No, they don't have the same frame.
Carl Weathers has easily like 150 pounds on Billy Dee.
And height as well. I didn't realize how tall Carl Weathers is, but yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense because, you know, he was an actor and a director, but he also had a long career, a semi-long career. That's the thing. I'm going to put semi in front of everything.
Well, which is it, Kaz?
Semi-hyphen.
Was it a long career or was it a short career?
No, it was like in the middle. It was like a semi-long career.
Mama Bear.
He also had a decent career playing football. Both in the college level and briefly for the NFL and the CFL.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was an athlete and an actor at the same time. And he said, you know, acting was my first passion. So he eventually got back into that. But he's got a fascinating career. We, of course, love him. We've mentioned this before. We love him on this podcast because of his legendary performances. Roy Brown in the Shadow Warriors films.
Yeah.
I just looked that up. Did you happen to remember what his character's name was? Because I didn't.
I don't think we called any character in the series by their names.
That's true.
When you have fucking Hulk Hogan and Shannon Tweed and Carl Weathers and John Kreese all in the same... No, and... Martin Kove all in the same movie.
No, but we were calling him Kreese is the thing. We were calling everyone by their actual name except for
Sensei Kreese.
except for Martin Kove, who we were referring to as a character from a different movie.
Yeah.
And
the only character we ever called by name was Derek, because what else do you fucking call that nobody?
But we call him as with an exclamation point. But Carl Weathers, born in 1948 in New Orleans.
Oh, yeah.
Down in New Orleans. Played college football, first with Long Beach City College and then the San Diego State. He helped San Diego State win the 1969 Pasadena Bowl.
Hey.
Following college, he signed to the Oakland Raiders as a free agent. He played 8 games with them before being released from his contract by none other than John Madden himself, who was the coach of the Raiders at the time, and he let Carl Weathers go because, quote, he was just too sensitive.
Like an actor.
Yeah, like an actor. Yeah, exactly, yeah. And
soul of a poet, that guy.
It's reported that John Madden cut Carl Weathers by bringing out a big photo of Carl Weathers, and then he said, like, all right, Carl, the problem here is, and then he took out his electronic pencil and he drew a big circle around his heart, and it's all like, there's too much feeling here, and then he drew like an arrow to his head. It's all like, the feelings come out here, and then they come through the eyes. That's a good joke. Come on,
I was gonna say that's pretty good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
When was the last time I told a joke about a football person? That's like his thing. That's like the thing he's known for doing.
Well, when you said he brought out a cardboard cutout of him, I was like, okay, so where's this story going? And then you said electronic pencil, and I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. And you got it. You nailed it, buddy.
To be fair, I just said picture. I didn't say cardboard cutout. I think you were thinking of him pulling out like an Apollo Creed standee,
yeah,
or something that he got from a fucking Blockbuster parking lot sale. All of these are references to things that happened long before the technology was available.
That's the joke. That's when I kind of clued in that, wait a second.
Right. 1971, the same year he gets cut from the Raiders, he signs on to the BC Lions.
Yep.
He plays 13 games with them. He attended San Francisco State while he was in his football career. He earned a bachelor's degree in drama in 1974. A pretty incredible trajectory. He earns a bachelor's degree of drama in 1974. 2 years later, he's playing Apollo Creed in Rocky.
Yeah.
That's a pretty incredible trajectory. Now, obviously, he looked the way he did, so that must have
helped.
That must have opened some doors for him because, I mean, obviously, there's a story behind him getting cast as Apollo Creed as well, which I'll get to in a couple of seconds.
How do you think the other actors in his class felt when they're like, oh, here comes this dumb jock to try and show us up in all these acting classes?
Oh, what a surprise. He had the soul of a poet.
Yeah.
He said it's all like, John Madden told me, just too sensitive. So I'm here.
Just too good.
I'm just too good at this. Yeah.
Good for him.
I'm sure there must have been one or two people who are still
a little jealous.
Who are still fuming to this day. And motherfucking Carl
You
Weathers.
can't be that athletic, that good looking, and that good of an actor.
And that nice of a man.
Something's gotta give.
Exactly. Nothing did though.
No.
Nothing did. His very first movie, his very first credited movie, he's an extra in the Dirty Harry sequel, Magnum Force, which he shows up in while his football career was going. So that's kind of, I guess, like on the off season, He tried getting in a couple of movies. His first credited movie roles are in 1975. He's in two classics of the blaxploitation genre, Friday Foster and Bucktown, both of which star Pam Grier, both of which are directed by Arthur Marks. And then the very next year, as I mentioned, he gets the prime role of Apollo Creed in Rocky. And the story behind that is apparently the audition for it. He was auditioning alongside Sylvester Stallone. And during the audition, he started criticizing Stallone's acting. He started saying it's all like, this guy's a joke, this guy can't act.
And not realizing that's the writer?
Well, I don't know if he realized it at the time, but the result is that they immediately gave him the role.
Yeah.
Is because Stallone was all like, that's the kind of energy that's the kind of energy I need. We need this guy who's gonna talk shit to me in my face or whatever. He doesn't know shit.
Because you're the rival boxer. And
we go. Actually, in 1976, Stallone could string a sentence.
You're
together.
making him like some kind of donkey creature.
Well, Adrian. Apollo Creed, a pretty good role, a pretty good movie.
Like scene-stealing performance, probably one of the most important characters in the Rocky franchise. And yeah, fuck, those first three Rocky movies, that character looms large. I sat down and watched the Rocky movies for the first time a couple of years ago, and fuck, those first three movies, perfect trajectory between the relationship between those two men. You know, start off as rivals, by the end of the movies, they're friends, helps him out beating Mr. T, and his...
They have an amazing slow motion hug on the beach.
Yeah.
In the shortest of short shorts.
Yeah.
I love that scene. I notice you are strategically leaving Rocky IV out of that. Do you have anything against Apollo Creed's downfall?
Well, I just don't consider that part of the perfect Rocky trilogy. That's just them going on a coke-fueled Cold War rampage.
That is true. I mean, like, I love Rocky IV because of how...
It kind of stands out compared to the other three films in the series. But the death of Apollo Creed in that is sort of like the only... Oh, shit. I guess there's some actual stakes for Rocky to do this now. And it does leave a large impact for the remainder of the series. But Rocky 4 and 5 are just so bananas.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really consider them part of, like, the whole Rocky series. And yet... Rocky 4 has such a cartoonish charm to it that I kind of look the other way on that as well.
That's true. I've always been...
Rocky 5 sucks, though.
That's the universal thing. Anyone who adores the Rocky franchise, you won't find any pushback on Rocky 5. And there's not even any archive footage of him in Rocky 5, so there's no reason for us to even be talking about it within the phrase of his career.
It's like if you look at the James Bond series, and then you see Rocky 4 as that original Casino Royale, not the Daniel Craig one. It's just sort of like this weird fucking curio that's out there in the franchise. No, better example. That one that Connery came back for.
Oh, Never Say Never Again. Yeah.
That's a better example.
I suppose, yeah. I would say that, like, the death of Apollo Creed in number 4 is significant for a couple of reasons. One, it's just like, it's one of the most bombastic scenes in any Rocky movie. Just the build up to that with James Brown coming out. Like, it's so memorable. It's one of the most memorable things that happens in that movie, full of truly memorable 80s coke-fueled insanity.
Over the top.
And I will say, cocaine has a co-writing credit on Rocky 3. Rocky 3 isn't exactly a grounded movie, Jameson. There's some pretty wacky shit that happens in that, too. Remember, he fights Hulk Hogan in that movie. So
right. But that, I think that plays into the life that Rocky has trajected himself into, because the first one is, just this gritty underdog story of, this nobody who accepts an open invitation to fight the heavyweight champ of the world, and he doesn't win, but he competes.
He goes the distance.
He holds his own against him, yeah. And then the second one, he gets a rematch of it, and he succeeds. And there's some bullshit on IMDb where every single one of the Rocky movies is a commentary on some point in Stallone's life where he was in his level of fame. So I think Rocky 3 is just,
okay.
How...
It's not like they're Godzilla movies. Every movie's a metaphor about what, like, the nation is going through at that point.
You check it out.
I'm sure IMDb says a lot of things.
I'm sure Rocky 3 is all about, like, how excess has gone to his head, and Rocky 4 is just sort of like, oh god, this is just the cash grab.
Well, Rocky 4 is Stallone saying like, I can destroy communism.
Sure.
I can. Let me give me do it. If I was on that,
Rocky 5 is all about his financial woes.
if I was on that plane, 9/11 wouldn't have gone down that way, you know.
Yeah,
but like, I would say like the death of Apollo, and then we'll get on to like the other films that he's made, because he's made a lot of other things. I would say like the death of Apollo in 4, you know, it informs where the series has gone now, because that directly leads into the Creed series.
Yeah.
And it's like that's
with Adonis Creed.
With Adonis Creed, and that like we wouldn't even have that franchise if they didn't make Sylvester Stallone is the lone credited writer for all the Rocky movies. If Stallone didn't make the choice of removing Apollo the way he did, you know, now Michael B. Jordan wouldn't have his current cash cow franchise.
And it was a fucking wise choice, and
very wise choice. A great series.
Yeah, and I've remarked before that I am so impressed that they took that cheesy as fuck premise and those moments from Rocky 4 and gave it so much weight.
Yes.
For
so much
Creed
emotional
2,
weight. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh yeah, I guess Ivan Drago's life would have been destroyed, and I guess Apollo Creed's kids grew up without a father. I guess that's right.
And like
I was too busy thinking about like hearts on fire and the Happy Birthday Polly robots that I forgot that there's like there's the human moments to it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That's something that could have absolutely fallen on its face, where it's like we're taking this very goofy thing entirely at face value and taking it very fucking seriously, but like it weirdly works so well.
Yeah,
especially for that second movie. Yeah, just since we've just ended up talking about the Rocky franchise, I will briefly say Rocky Balboa. Do you have any thoughts on Rocky Balboa number 6?
I saw it.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, it's
you know,
fine.
I think it was a lot better than people thought it would be at the time that it came out.
It got back to the roots, I'd say. Yeah.
So when Stallone was making that movie, he reached out to all of the past rivals to ask specifically if he could use archival footage of them in the 6th movie. He asked Mr. T, he asked Dolph Lundgren. When he asked Carl Weathers, apparently Carl refused, saying, I want a role in the movie. I want like an actual part in the movie. Stallone had to be all like, well, you know, you're kind of dead. You're kind of like,
come back as a force
you're
ghost.
You're kind of not alive anymore, Carl. And because Stallone wouldn't let him have a small role in the movie, Carl Weathers refused, and so there's no archival footage of Apollo Creed in that 6th movie.
Arguably the most important rival boxer.
Exactly.
In the series.
There's a few. They did some tricks where they kind of recreated the archival footage with kind of a Carl Weathers stand-in.
Yeah, you can see him from the back of those American flag shirts.
Clearly, they made up before Creed got put into development, because he's all over that movie. It would be really weird if Carl Weathers wasn't in Creed
use the name
in some
Apollo
footage.
Creed,
yeah. So after Rocky, you know, an amazing cultural event. Practically everyone gets nominated for an Academy Award in that cast, except Carl Weathers, which is kind of ridiculous. They nominated Paulie. No offense to Burt Ward, who's Burt Young, who is an actor I like or whatever. But it's like, look, just nominate all of them. I don't know. At that point, if you're just nominating the entire cast, you leave out the one black guy. I feel like that's kind of anyway. 1977, he has a blink and you'll miss it role in Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. He's also 1977 is him blending his two loves, because he is in the football comedy Semi-Tough, the classic 70s football comedy starring Burt Reynolds and Chris Christopherson.
Okay.
His let me tell you, his filmography is full of what I would charitably call dad movies. Like, these are just like tough guys doing tough guy things. 1978, he's in Force 10 from Navarone, starring Robert Shaw and Harrison Ford. 1981, he's in Death Hunt with Charles Bronson and Lee Marvin. Ooh, now that's a pairing. That's something your dad, that'll give your dad a half chub. He hears about that. He's all like, "Ooh, Marvin and Bronson? Yes, please." That's a dad chub. That's a new term that I'm coining on this podcast right now.
That's a term I'm going to be cutting around when
Jameson's thrilled. What if you left in everything except the actual words "dad chub"?
Yeah,
and then the audience had no idea what we were saying.
It'll be an hour 50 of dead silence, but every once in a while, at like the 10-minute mark, it'll be dad chub.
Dad chub. We'll just release it as a bonus episode. Put some ambient music behind it. 1987, but by this point in time, he's done Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4. 1985 was Rocky 4. 1987 is, I'd say, like his second best known role, Predator, where he gives the
Dylan.
He gives
son of a bitch.
He gives the greatest high five ever recorded in cinema history. Something that I've certainly done with many of my friends.
Oh yeah, I've done that high five
There's nothing more fun than seeing someone
when you connect that bicep flex high five. Yeah, that's
you gotta walk towards the person. You gotta make eye contact.
And then you have like a mid-air.
You gotta not look at the hands. You gotta look him in the eye the entire time, and then just just try and give each other an arm wrestle in midair.
Yeah.
For at least, I feel like the rule is for at least like 5 to 7 seconds
until one of the two men submits.
Yeah. We never see who wins that in the movie.
The audience does.
The audience. Well done.
I don't really remember him having that strong of a presence in Predator. Because Predator's about the monster and it's about Arnie.
Yeah, but he's still like the second biggest name in that movie after Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes,
that's
him.
True. And then, you have like your cadre of mercenaries or whatever. I'd say probably the third most recognizable person in that movie is Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
Hey, we've now covered all three of them.
That's true. That's right. Well,
making our way through the Predator cast.
So, because of this, we are going to announce that we are inducting the movie Predator into the Nothing Movies Hall of Fame.
Absolutely. Join us next episode when we're covering the career of Bill Duke. That would be great. I love that guy. But yeah, I mean, he's just like the army general. He's like the commander of like the squad or whatever. Yeah. And he doesn't make it, but
few of them do.
Basically none of them, except two of them. But yeah, I mean, like you can't deny he's in that movie.
He's
certainly in it.
You got me there, Kaz.
1988, a movie I haven't seen, but I do know for a fact is a Carl Weathers picture, Action Jackson.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I know the fucking title.
I know the title.
You can't fucking get away from that title.
I've listened to the How Did This Get Made episode. It sounds great. One of these days I'm eventually going to have to see it. 1992. Yeah, he has a big break in between movies for a while. Between 88 and 92 is this next movie. The movie we almost covered, Hurricane Smith.
Yeah.
Which is just
now, why did you want to cover that?
Because it's called Hurricane Smith.
All right.
Which is and
it's no Action Jackson.
It's no Action Jackson. It's clearly him trying to repeat the mild success of Action Jackson, but it's all like, get me in another movie, get some shit to blow up in the background, and give me a titular name that no one on Earth would ever have. Name me after something. Name me after like a force, and then I'll be able to do this. But what I didn't realize about that movie when I started looking into it is it's actually an Ozploitation movie.
Oh, so wonderful.
It would have fit in perfectly with this podcast because we love
Aussie schlock.
We love weird Australian garbage. But the more I looked into it, the more I realized today's movie, Deadly Passions, among Carl Weathers fans, is the more obscure of the two. If you are a Carl Weathers fan, you've probably seen Hurricane Smith.
Okay.
So it's maybe a little too well known for our show, even though I'd never heard of it before this run.
Oh, dodge that bullet.
But in between that stuff, he also starts doing television. I mean, obviously, he makes this TV movie. He tried a couple of other series that kind of didn't go anywhere. From 1991 to 1993, he's in 44 episodes of a show called Street Justice.
Okay.
Which makes total sense for a title that's something Carl Weathers would be in.
In 44 episodes, you bet.
And then in 93 to 95, he joins a TV show for the last couple of seasons of its run. That TV show is In the Heat of the Night. Which most people know as like the groundbreaking like Sidney Poitier. They call me Mr. Tibbs movie.
They made that into a series?
This is the thing. They made that into like a very long-running television series.
Is it any good?
I don't know. I've never seen it, but Carl Weathers is in it. So yeah, I believe Carol O'Connor is the star of it. Obviously, he's not playing the Sidney Poitier role,
right,
but that's the Heat of the Night is about the racist white sheriff and Mr. Tibbs.
Yeah, and the black FBI.
The black FBI agent, and they're
Yeah.
getting together, and by the end of it, the white sheriff learns, oh, maybe I shouldn't be so racist.
They solve racism.
They solve racism in the South.
Once and for all.
Except apparently not, because there were 28 episodes where Carl Weathers was trying to solve racism in the South.
Well, there were a lot of racists in the South.
There were. Thankfully, we're past that now. Thankfully, and racism was solved and is never an issue again. So yeah, he was on those two shows, and then he comes back in a big way in 1996 to movies with the film Happy Gilmore.
My very first introduction to Carl Weathers.
I think maybe most people's, because I think kids would probably have seen an Adam Sandler comedy before they watched Rocky or any of the Rockies, depending on your childhood. And your upbringing.
Not so much watching like the R-rated movies, starting with Predator, but yeah, certainly started with Happy Gilmore. I'm just going to say, for all the flack Adam Sandler gets for not being that funny these days, I'm going to make the bold statement, and this isn't just me, having the rose-tinted goggles on. When he was a young, upcoming, hot new face of comedy, fucking Happy Gilmore still makes me laugh to this day.
Absolutely. Like those early Sandlers are undeniable.
Absolutely.
The only reason you would not enjoy one of those early Sandlers is if you just fundamentally don't find Adam Sandler fun. If you don't get his shtick, then that's fine. That's fine. That's you. That's your opinion.
But they're broad premises, and all the background characters are just these over-the-top loonies who just nail their delivery and timing for these kinds of comedies, and just full of all these like stupid one-liners. Like it's not a clever, witty comedy, and yet just tickles me pink sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, that early Sandler run of like Billy Madison, Waterboy. Never seen Bulletproof. That's kind of the one outlier. But then Wedding Singer is like a classic.
Yeah.
Waterboy is still pretty damn funny.
Yeah. But Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, top of the pyramid.
Now,
right
since we're talking about Adam Sandler here, what's your opinion on the 2000 release Little Nicky, in which Carl Weathers reprises his role as Chubbs up in heaven? Now, tangentially connecting all of the Happy Madison films as a cinematic universe years before Marvel ended up doing it.
Oh, that movie sucks. I hated Little Nicky.
I go to the mat for Little Nicky. Okay. I think it's fine. I
mean, it was good to see Chubbs again.
I liked it when I saw it in theaters. I think there's some really good gags in Little Nicky. I think the big problem with Little Nicky is the voice.
Yes.
It's the fact that he chooses to do that voice the entire movie, and it is a hard ask. But if you can manage to look through it, and look, that's not even the first time Adam Sandler has made a movie doing specifically that voice. Like, he just did that Netflix iguana movie, Leo, which is actually really good. It's surprisingly a very good family movie. But he's doing the Little Nicky voice. Oh no, I'm an iguana. What are we doing? And it's
I think I'll give that one a miss.
But it's like, if you can't stomach that, that's totally fine. But yes, it was nice to see Chubbs again. It's nice to see that. I mean, whatever. It's like he dies in Happy Gilmore, but like he's
got a stupid wooden hand.
He's happy
and a running quarrel with a crocodile.
He's
on the golf
hanging
course.
out with Abraham Lincoln, and then the next movie, he's getting like mimosas with Reese Witherspoon in heaven and all of her angel friends. So it's all like, it worked out for Chubbs. He's dead, but he's
it worked
happy.
out in the afterlife.
It worked out for him eventually.
Run,
And these two movies kind of. Oh, I should also mention in between the release of Happy Gilmore and Little Nicky, of course, were his two Shadow Warriors movies.
Oh, how can we forget?
I couldn't forget that.
Well, I mean, we covered an episode each on those, so.
That is true. Check out those episodes here. Yeah, and then I feel like the Happy Gilmore thing really sort of ignites the comedy bug in him, because he really did a lot more sort of playing off of his own image. Most notably, to a lot of people would argue, has become his second most important role.
His definitive role as himself.
As himself on Arrested Development, on 9 episodes of Arrested Development. Yeah, I feel like when he passed away, the bulk of the tributes were just clips of that stew scene. Of him just saying to David Cross, don't throw that bone away. Which is such a weird fucking joke, but it's great. It's so funny every time.
Tobias hiring him as his acting coach. And we were talking about this with friend of the show, Harrison Mooney. I didn't know at the time that when he was brought on board for Arrested Development, that he came up with the idea himself that, can you write me as being very cheap?
Yes, extremely frugal. Yes.
Because it's I don't know why else they would go to Carl Weathers for something like that if you don't have a joke in mind. Because, quick thing about Arrested Development, all the recurring characters who aren't part of the main cast are either insane themselves, that they bring something new to the show's formula, or they bring out a different kind of crazy of the core cast. And Carl Weathers is that little sweet spot where he does both.
Yes.
And it works so fucking well.
And it's one of the only characters on that show that manages to somewhat mute the craziness of the Tobias character. Like, you watch the scenes where they're interacting, and Tobias comes off as, like, the more normal of the two of them. which is a big ask, but it's like, yeah.
One of the underrated, or what I think an underappreciated part of that whole "you got a stew going, baby" line is that when he drops that line a second time to Tobias has this slow realization. He goes, "I think I want my money back," and Carl Weathers has like this kind of worried look on his face, and Tobias has the same worried look.
All sales are final, baby.
It's so good.
Yeah, and then he stays with TV for a while. He was in 7 episodes of Colony, which is a show that's shot here. My sister worked on.
Okay.
So he might have been bumming around Vancouver for a bit. Then he's also in 13 episodes of something called Chicago Justice, which I'm sure is one of those multitude of shows that have like Chicago as like the first word.
Chicago PD.
Chicago law.
Med,
yeah, that type of stuff. Yeah, exactly. That only lasted for 13 episodes.
That's a little bit over than the fucking, what was that one? The one that went to series for 6 episodes?
Oh, Fortune Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit over.
A little over
Spilled over a bit. 2019, from 2017 to 2019, the very tail end of his career, he decided, you know what? I'll take a big fat paycheck from that mouse. And he just like became a Disney man. Pretty hard here. He's done 10 episodes of the animated show Star vs. the Forces of Evil as a character named Omnitraxus Prime. His final credited movie role is Combat Carl in Toy Story 4.
Oh, yeah.
Which is very fun. His namesake. He actually gets the little post-credit stinger in that. So that's kind of nice. His last movie role, Carl Weathers, is like the last actor you see. And Combat Carl, he just wants a high five. He just wants someone to high five him, Jameson. And at the very end, Duke Kaboom gives him a high five, and that was the journey that all the toys went on.
Okay,
that was what they wanted to do. Okay, Woody was
cool.
all like, "We need to give this man a high five."
When does he do the Mandalorian cast?
Same year.
Okay, great.
2019 to 2023.
Yeah.
His final credit in his career, the character of Grief Karga. We're all experiencing a different type of grief.
Yes.
The grief of
how
loss.
Fitting.
How fitting.
Yeah.
And I do mean GREEF grief.
Of course.
That's
right?
what we're feeling.
Because that's writing in the Star Wars universe.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
And he also had like a pretty decent career as a television director. He directed episodes of Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas.
Hell yeah.
Silk Stockings, Hawaii Five-0, The Last OG, Law and Order, and of course, 2 episodes of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So, there you go. And I think he got nominated for an Emmy for The Mandalorian. He got nominated for an Emmy for something else. I think maybe In the Heat of the Night. I'm not sure. But yeah, there we go. Carl Weathers.
Good for him having that steady hand to handle journeyman directing on these daytime actioner TV shows.
Yeah, it's a shame he never got around, never got the opportunity to make a movie or
That's true, but
anything
I mean,
of that nature. But
he's had a pretty storied career, and he's got a lot of successes and memorable roles under his belt. So I don't feel too bad for him.
I'd say like he's like of his career, he has like 5 deeply iconic performances of Apollo Creed, Chubbs, himself.
Yeah. A perennial supporting character,
yeah.
I'd say. Yeah.
Mandalorian, and then what's his name from Predator? Predator is
Dylan!
Dylan, you son of a bitch!
Yeah.
You are right. His first name Dylan, last name you son of a bitch. That's the full
You son
thing.
of a bitch.
Yeah, he's from the Ukraine. Exactly. All right, well, there we go. Shall we begin to talk about this television movie from the 90s?
Let us shall.
All right. Let us shill?
Let us shall.
Let us shall.
Yeah.
All right.
But if you guys want to shill, here comes a charity spot your way.
Shell out that money for a good cause.
Yeah.
I don't know what, as of this recording, I don't know what the cause will be, but it's good. They're all good.
Yeah.
We don't spotlight bad causes on this show.
Yeah, we don't play favorites either. They're all good.
We try not to.
Okay.
We do the barest amount of vetting.
And if you don't do it for us, do it for Carl Weathers.
Do it for Carl.
Yeah, do it for Chubbs.
All right. Millions of Ukrainian families have been displaced from their homes due to Russia's full-scale invasion. and millions more remain and are under constant threat of death or imprisonment. Going into its second year, this unjust war is a daily reminder of man's inhumanity to man, and every day more help is needed to protect the average citizens caught in the crossfire. Over 2,200,000 Ukrainians have found refuge in Canada, and the Displaced Ukrainians Appeal has raised 3.1 million donations across the country. Of course, simply being in Canada is no solution to most of these families, and for many, there's also no respite either, as some are faced with ignorance and xenophobia from citizens who frankly should know better. The struggle is palpable, and the work is nowhere close to being done to protect these families displaced by a despot. The Canadian Ukraine Foundation has a variety of programs that you can donate to. The Ukrainian Humanitarian Appeal provides food, medicine, mental health care, ambulances, and generators to those that need them. The Displaced Ukrainians Appeal supports people escaping conditions of war. The Canadian Ukraine Surgical Aid Program provides life-changing care to patients affected by the war. There are specific programs to support children, veterans, artists, and other groups within the Ukraine. To make one or multiple donations, please visit the link in our show notes, or visit cufoundation.ca. And we've returned. Mm-hmm. Dangerous Passions. Dangerous Passion. Uh-huh. I'm already fucking up. You know what? Start the episode.
You know. Okay.
And we're back. Dangerous Passion from 1990, directed by Michael Miller, who also brought us the Chuck Norris film Silent Rage, and the early Tommy Lee Jones film Jackson County Jail. Oh. And just so many
like drawn names from a hat.
So many TV movies based on Danielle Steele books, I feel like. And not Steele book as in the Blu-ray that you get. I mean books written by Danielle Steele. Okay. But yes, Dangerous Passion. It was a TV movie on the ABC network in 1990, which I was very shocked to learn, given that there's some boobies in this movie.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that. Mm-hmm. And, like, for the most part, it's like a fairly, like, there's violence in it, but it's not like an overly gory film. There's not really any foul language in this whatsoever. So I'm watching this, I'm all like, yeah, this is very clearly sanitized. This is like watching any crime procedural in the 90s. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, fucking Lynette McKee gets her cotton clubs out. And I'm all like, whoa, how we doing? That's a reference to another movie that Lynette McKee was the star of, Jameson.
Oh.
Ah, there we go. There's tits.
Jesus, all
there's
right.
tits in this.
Uh-huh. Even that couldn't save the movie, I'd say.
So this movie, we watched it on YouTube. It is thanks to the YouTube channel Crud Buddies. So shout out to Crud Buddies. Yeah. Go give them a like and a follow and a subscribe.
Yeah, consider this an open invitation to guests on our podcast.
I normally don't. I normally don't write down whoever I'm streaming this from off of YouTube.
With a name like that.
That was the first thing that came up, and I'm all like, that's my first note. My second note is that this is a Coralco picture, and I've forced the topic of conversation on this podcast many times about opening logos that bring me a tremendous amount of nostalgia, and this is definitely one of them. Coralco, a film company that has been long dead for a while now, but I've always, whenever that popped up, I always sort of like view them as kind of like a higher class of canon. You know,
that's the vibe I got from this. Yeah, like an attempted higher class of canon.
I think famously they released the first two Terminator movies.
Okay.
So that's where I remember that opening logo from. But this must have been at the tail end of things because
because they looked like they were running out of money.
They were running out of something. they were running out of a reason to exist.
They rented out that big house and filmed a car chase, and then they're like, well, we got enough to rent a motel room for the night.
This was the movie where Carl Weathers learned to be frugal.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have money for crafty, so there was just one big stew pot in the middle. He's all like, I'm going to save that for later. All right, so what happens in this fucking movie, Jameson?
Jesus Christ. Well, a lot of exposition happens because they don't go around bothering to film
anything other
the
than this
inciting incidents and all the
that is true.
insular stuff.
A lot of shit happens right before the opening credits of this movie happens, and it shows us none of it.
Yeah.
It's largely just dictated to us by the characters in this scene. It's a
lot of tell, don't show.
It's a movie that takes a while as an audience member to figure out who everyone is and what their relationship to each other is, because it really throws you in the deep end.
Yeah. Kind of like leaves it up to you to follow this and not to follow along as it occurs organically. It'd make a decent play, I guess, in that regard.
Would be a fun fringe show to put on.
Yeah.
Based on the 1990 television movie. So Carl Weathers plays Kyle.
Kyle, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what his job is, but
he's like a security guy.
He's like a security systems guy who is also a mechanic. He's a man of many talents.
He's like an electrician as well. Yeah.
So the movie opens at the palatial estate of Billy Dee Williams, who I'm not entirely sure what he does, but I'm suffice to say he's like a crime boss.
He's in crime. He's in the business of crime.
Yes,
Jameis. He's got a lot of different things going on.
Yeah, and business is good.
Business is good, but like he's hearing some rumblings that maybe business is not good, which is why he sends his wife Meg, played by the aforementioned Lynette McKee. Meg has just come back from Zurich, where he sent her to spy on somebody's space.
On his bankers, his Swedish bankers.
His Swedish bankers, and he's like,
did you find anything? Yes, I did find something. I found like this massive paper trail, and I'm going to explain it in great detail to you, and I'm just like, whoa.
This is literally the first 2 minutes of the movie. But this is as like she's literally saying this as and Billy Dee Williams as Lou comes up on screen. I'm all like, there's a lot of information being thrown at me now.
Lou, you kept me pretty busy in Europe.
You went first class all the way. What are you complaining about?
Because I didn't have any time for myself.
Before you met me, you thought first class was a grade of beef.
Oh, now I really do need a vacation, Lou.
Your life's a vacation. Did you get those flowers I sent you in Zurich?
Lou, you don't listen to me.
I send you to Europe to have a good time. You come home talking about I don't listen to you.
You don't care if I had a good time in Europe. You sent me there to spy for you on your bankers and your shady accountants, and you never listen to me unless it has to do with you, Lou.
And at the same time, they're also, explain that this is a rocky relationship. The spark has gone out of this marriage. They're bickering at each other. Yeah, like my note is just, he sent his angry wife to spy on European bankers.
I have almost exactly the exact same note, yes. Just because I wanted to see if it made sense to me.
Mm-hmm. And the note that I have after that is that they're going to talk about it in the morning and they're going to sleep in separate bedrooms tonight. And I'm like, okay, maybe this will be an important detail to come back to a little later. But then
it sort of is for this setup or whatever. I don't know. If I had a house that big, I would hope that my spouse would have a bedroom of their own anyway. Because, you don't want to, as you get older, the myth of always having to sleep in the same bed as your partner somewhat does get demystified. It's nice to have your own space, is all I'll say.
You're such a romantic cat.
It doesn't, it's almost more romantic to give someone their own bed.
Yeah. Anyways, downstairs, he has his two security goons playing cards, and Carl Weathers,
Steve and Walt.
Yeah.
I mentioned these characters' names because they are going to come back. Like, there's not a ton of characters in this movie, so they will come back.
Yeah, it's Steve and Walt and Carl Weathers, who is easily the most jacked and who I would have assumed is the head security guy. No, he's just like there to hook up the security system.
Yeah, he's not like, he's on Billy Dee's payroll, but he's not on Billy Dee's payroll. Yeah. Again, it's a little tricky to figure out. Like, what he
does, he's obviously in his employ, but it seems like he's a contractor.
So, yeah, definitely. Yeah, Billy Dee got his number from someone else.
Yeah.
But he also, they've clearly had like a couple of conversations before this movie begins, because Billy Dee knows his his safety word. Like when the password, when like the security system goes off later, he's all like, "It's all right. I set the alarm off. Touchdown."
Yeah.
All like, all right. Well, so he must have had a conversation with Carl Weathers at some point before this has happened. But yeah, we don't understand the relationship.
But all these three security experts let an assassin slip through into the.
Well, there's one security expert, two goons, two hired goons,
and none of them noticed this one guy right outside the kitchen climbing up the balcony staircase.
Very obvious.
Yeah. Billy Dee Williams catches him on the closed circuit TV and he says, like, don't worry, boys, I set off the silent alarm. And at this point, I'm like, oh, okay, he's setting up this assassin to kill his wife for whatever.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going on. Yeah,
but no, I guess he was unaware that this assassin was coming in. He didn't hire himself, so he shoots him dead.
Well, yeah, he makes a split moment decision to be all like, I'm seeing this assassin on my security cameras, but I'm gonna fucking take him down.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna let like any of my staff or the people that I paid to do this specific job to do it. No, I got my shotgun.
I entrusted my safety to. I got this.
I'm taking street justice is what I'm doing, basically.
Billy Dee Williams kills the assassin. Two goons rush upstairs and they say, like, oh, we gotta dump this body. The cops are gonna be sniffing around because you're under indictment from the DA. None of our records are clean, but Carl Weathers got a clean record. So, hey, Carl Weathers, come up here. They toss him the gun. Now his prints are on the gun. They say, okay, well, now you're gonna be set up as the guy who killed the assassin.
It's a very TV movie, sort of like right before we cut to commercial moment where, like, it's like, Kyle, get in here. He's all like, sure, all right. And Billy D is wiping his fingerprints off the shotgun. And as Carl Weathers enters the room, he's all like, hey, what's going on, everyone? And Billy D tosses him the shotgun. He goes, nice shot.
Yeah.
Boo-doo-doo. And then like it cuts to like a McDonald's commercial or something. Yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, so yeah, Carl is sort of like roped into this murder that he didn't commit. He knows Lou, obviously, is like a Mr. Big type figure that you don't say no to.
Yeah.
He's already...
Yeah, you take the heat for this. I'm going to put 50 grand into your bank account. We'll get you out of there in no time. And then, then I'll know you're cool.
He brings in his personal lawyer, Edelman, who for some reason is a character in a wheelchair.
Oh, God. When I saw that wheelchair, I was like... Okay, all right. I know how this character's going to end up.
Something's going to happen here. He will be hoisted by his own petard.
You don't put.
I suppose that's not how that works.
You don't put a character who's employed by a gangster in a wheelchair for no reason.
Right, unless you're just like hiring like a handy-capable actor. One, this movie is not doing that. I've looked through this man's filmography. I think this man was able to use his legs. Mm-hmm. But yes, I have a lot to say about wheelchair lawyer, which is just he has a name, but that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
That's what I wrote.
Wheels.
That's what I wrote down multiple times. Well, I wrote this down and then I looked at it again because I think I just wrote this down because there was like a These are the two notes that I wrote back to back. I wrote wheelchair lawyer ! And then immediately after that, I wrote down a character name which I had misheard because there's another goon character who shows up later named Jack Carmen. And I guess someone mentions his name earlier here, but I clearly misheard it because I wrote down wheelchair lawyer and then the next note that I wrote was Jack Parkin. And so I'm looking over my notes earlier today and I'm all like, did they name the wheelchair character Jack Parkin? That's and then I checked the filmography and I'm like, no, I'm an idiot. But Jack Parkin, it's a good wheelchair lawyer name.
Sure.
Because he's parking that. Anyway, they go to jail.
Carl Weathers goes to jail, gets let out the next day.
Yeah, he doesn't get charged with anything.
Yeah.
Because he has a clean record and
he saved the life of a man or something.
He saved a man, a life of a man, a known criminal under indictment.
There's one detective there who says, like, hey, we've been trying to nail Billy Dee Williams forever now, so if there's anything going on, you let us know. And he's like, well...
A character
I got nothing. I ain't no snitch or whatever.
A character I completely forgot about until the last shot of the movie. I'm like, oh yeah, they did set that up, right?
I mean, he stood out to me because I recognized him as the guy who ran the cockfights in Seinfeld.
Oh, there we go. So the next day we cut to the lawyer telling Billy D on the phone that everything went fine and Carl got released and there's nothing to worry about, and we know in this scene that Billy Dee Williams is like an evil rich person because he's having brunch on his veranda and he's not like taking a sip of coffee. He's not biting into a croissant or anything like that. No. He's holding a single white rose for no particular reason. But that's how you know he's an evil mob boss. Because anyone who does that in an establishing shot can't be a good man.
All right. I'm just going to say favorite part of the movie is Billy Dee Williams chewing the fuck out of the scenery.
Oh, he's great.
He was
totally.
So good in this.
And look, obviously we'll talk about like the great stuff that happens. We shouldn't overload this episode with Billy D talk because we absolutely need to give him his own episode.
Yeah.
I was thinking while watching this, like we could potentially create a trilogy around like the Star Wars actors we haven't done yet. We could do a Billy Dee, we could do a Carrie. I guess we could do Harrison Ford. That's a very different career from the other three, but like, Billy Dee should get his own episode, so we won't talk too much. But I was a little concerned about halfway through this movie, and it's all like, Billy Dee is just like taking this role for a walk, and he's having a great fucking time with it. And comparatively speaking, Carl Weathers is kind of playing this role a little closer to the chest. He's playing it like a little more serious. He's not really giving it any sort of like color or whatever.
He plays it very natural, I'd say. Yeah.
And then I'd say, thankfully for our purposes, for like the second half of the movie, Billy Dee kind of takes a little bit of a backseat, and it kind of becomes a little more Carl focused. So I'm like, okay, good. This did turn out to be like a good choice for this episode. But yes, Billy Dee Williams is far and away the best part of this movie. Yeah. It's great to see him in like this villain role. I've never really seen him do this before.
I know. I mean, like the closest role I'm familiar with him is Lando. And, he's not a villain in that, but he does betray the Allies, and there's that initial scenes where he is, he's schmoozy, he's charming, and then he betrays them, and, you just, what, boo.
Yeah, but they had him between a rock and a hard place. Exactly. Look, I'm not, this isn't going to be like the millionth and one podcast that defends the choices made by Lando Calrissian. He had an entire city to think of, Jameson, and
this is an opportunity for Billy Dee to play a charming bad guy,
right? And I mean, like, he has a vast filmography of films that I haven't checked out, so he's probably played villains before. But obviously, the closest he came and never quite got to was Two-Face. That's the great villain role he never got an opportunity to play. So I wonder maybe if this is all like, all right, I was Harvey Dent in that first Batman movie that was last year.
I took the role with the understanding that I would eventually be Two-Face.
I gotta start playing some more villains to build up for it. And then the second one, they're all like, Billy, we will pay you not to be in this movie. And he continued earning paychecks his entire life for not playing Two-Face. Until Lego Batman, where he got two lines of dialogue.
Did you know that there's like a comic book series going on? Yeah, Batman '89, where like they actually like the original Tim Burton idea for Two-Face and what he would look like.
Been meaning to read that.
Yeah. Anyways,
so we're at Billy Dee's mansion again. Carl Weathers is jogging with his shirt off.
Yeah. So this is why I'm thinking like, how employed is Carl Weathers to this guy? Because like, if
That's
he's
a
just
great question, I don't have an answer.
If he's just like a contractor, like who's like working either on the security.
Does he live here? Yeah. Like, what's going on?
If he's jogging around the property, it's like, what the? How long are you expected to finish this job?
He's really making himself at home.
Yeah.
And it's a good question too, because like this is the scene where Billy Dee basically offers him a lot more steady employment, and he's like, he shows him his garage.
Yeah, his prized possession, a 1931 Bugatti, which he describes as like the perfect woman, sleek, smart, and classy.
Let's just cut through all this. Let's just get this on the table. He's fucking that car, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's putting his dick in there.
After Carl Weathers fixes it up for him, and he's like, "I'd like to be alone with my car."
I bet you would. He climbs in the front seat. Yeah,
caressing the steering wheel and everything. It was
He has a sexual attraction to that car. There's no other way to view that perforance.
Yeah. He describes his wife the exact same way, and once he like smart, sexy, and like, did you ever see the SNL bit about the what was it, like the Mercedes mistress?
No. That makes me laugh.
Just look it up. All I'll say is Horatio Sanz ends up fucking the trunk of a car.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, my pop culture car fucking moment comes from the Ridley Scott film The Counselor, in which Cameron Diaz has a notable sex scene with a car that you really, really have to see to believe.
I'm not here to kink shame. So,
no, not at all. No, if you want to, hey, look, no one gets hurt except maybe you, depending on where you're putting it.
I will say a nice touch is like Billy Dee Williams is explaining his backstory, that he grew up poor, and at this one point in his childhood, this rich guy showed up with this nice Bugatti. He says, "I'll pay you to watch it, but just don't touch it." And he was like, "But how could you not touch a car like this?" So he touches the car. The rich guy punches him in the face, knocks him on his ass, and stiffs him on the bill. And that's what he said. And I vow right then and there that I'd go and get the car like this. right down to like a Nebraska license plate. Carl Weathers says, "Oh, Nebraska license plate, just like this one." And it's like, well, he very clearly stole this car at one point.
He kept this grudge from childhood
Yeah.
all throughout his criminal career.
Yeah. And
he
it's
found
like-
this one random guy, and amazingly, the guy still had the car.
Yeah, and so like now that he's a rich, powerful man, what did he do? He stole the man's prize car.
Well, he probably killed the dude.
And probably killed
I'm
him.
imagining.
And now it's like a symbolic status symbol for him. And I'm like, that's a great fucking touch for a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Sure, yeah. The thing that I found funny in this scene, this whole like, hey, come and check out my garage, and I'll pay you to be a mechanic and like install security systems and do some other stuff around my house. Basically, it's funny because he says like install security systems and fix up the cars. Like the next time we see Carl Weathers doing work, he's doing like yard work.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll get into that because there's things I want to say about that scene too. But what's funny is like right before they go to the garage. Billy Dee Williams is all like, hey, you want some coffee? And Carl Weathers is like, no, I don't want any coffee. And then they go into the garage. He shows them all of his cars. And then he goes like, here, come on, we'll go get a cup of mint tea. And it's all like, well, I mean, you just offered him coffee. I don't know if he necessarily wants tea. And then 2 minutes later, one of the other goons shows up. And he's all like, all right, Carl, why don't you go start work on these cars? And I was like, if I was Carl Weathers, I'd be like, I thought we were having tea.
Yeah.
You literally just offered me tea. Mm-hmm. But yeah, obviously you don't want to argue with Big Boss Lou because he disappears people, but it's like it was just funny how he kept offering him things and then never followed up on any of them. But speaking of beverages, so Carl Weathers starts working for Billy Dee Williams. We
just
see
like a general handyman.
just a general handyman because he's doing fucking yard work with his shirt off, being all manly, drinking from the hose. That's when Meg comes into the situation.
I love when Billy Dee Williams and him are like passing by the pool, and he says, "Oh yeah, that's my wife." You know, you could just have like the telegraph line of, "That's my wife. You'll be sleeping with her behind my back later." In
Absolutely,
this movie.
yeah. I mean, the movie's called Dangerous Passions.
Yeah.
I think I can assume what the trajectory of what's happening.
And
here
like
is
he describes her as like, oh, a huge pain in my ass, and it's like clearly there's love lost between these two. Clearly beats this lady, and you. Like early on in this movie, I'm just like, oh, this poor wilted flower being abused by this horrible, horrible man. I have all the sympathy in the world for this woman. By the end of this movie, I fucking hate this woman.
I know, yeah. This movie doesn't do a great job of getting us on her side. By the end, by like midway through, I'm kind of on Billy Dee Williams' side. I can kind of see why he wants to get rid of this chick.
Yeah.
Oh,
she
boy.
comes by with like a bruise on her face, and I'm like, oh, who would ever raise hands to it against a beautiful woman like this? And then by the end, I'm like, man, someone needs to do something to shut this woman up.
Not that we're advocating violence against anyone.
No.
No. Although
just this specific person.
Just this specific fictional character.
Yes.
Who spoiler alert is murdered. So it's not like we can do it. What we're saying is dig her up.
Yeah.
So Meg comes by with homemade
lemonade Meg.
Homemade lemonade Meg. Is that how we will refer to this character from now on? And it's just Kyle, to his credit, is very much taking the stance of like a boyfriend who has been asked to hold a purse while someone goes into a boutique. He's just all like, I'm just here. I'm just doing the job.
Yeah.
I'm taking, like, he flat out refuses the lemonade at one point. A nice little touch from Carl Weathers here that I really liked is she gives him the lemonade, kind of like talks him up and flirts with him a little bit. She says, well, I'll leave the pitcher over there. And then as she exit, he takes another quick drink from the hose to get the taste of that fucking lemonade out of his mouth.
He really didn't want that.
Clearly that was some shitty lemonade. Clearly she forgot to add like sugar or something. Because it was very funny how he's all like, oh, it tastes like shit.
I'm not taking a damn thing from this family.
Or it's just, I'm
here to do my yard work and my.
Or he's doing that so like, if Billy Dee Williams was watching every someone is all like, no, I washed my mouth out. See, I didn't even like it. Yeah. Didn't even swallow.
You see this, boss? It's all good. It's all innocent.
Yes, but that is laying the table for obviously what's going to happen. The next scene, Billy Dee is throwing like a big garden party. He has like a bunch of important people. There's like some senators and some drunk senators' wives.
Yeah, who I thought might have come back because they kind of linger on her.
Yeah, it was weird how they gave the senator's wife kind of like this spotlight moment, and then that kind of came to nothing. It's really just to introduce the idea that Lou is connected.
Yes.
You know, he's got powerful friends. I will say one of the things that was pointed out in the trivia section for this movie, it's something that I didn't really clock, obviously, because we're living in 2024 and this is a lot more prevalent now. But for 1990 to have a TV movie where the cast is primarily African American people was not like a huge deal, but it was notable.
Yeah.
It was notable because it didn't really happen all that often. So and like
they don't really call too much attention to
no,
it.
they don't, and that's what's cool about it. It's just a crime story.
Yeah. Their main conflict is that Billy Dee is a rich man who can buy his way out of trouble and who can beat the system.
Right.
Yeah.
And that sort of depiction of like a career criminal who just happens to be a black man, but we aren't really drawing any sort of attention to his race. In the early 90s. It didn't really happen all that often.
Yeah, like the conflict between the two of them is that Carl Weathers, I'm a person who people call me by my first name. People call you by your last name.
Right.
Mr. So-and-so, yeah.
It's a pretty good line.
That's a great line,
Pretty good line, and it's echoed at the end of the movie, which we'll get to. But at this very public garden party, Mega's not letting her foot off the gas.
No.
At all. She's being very obvious.
Yeah, very obvious. She wants to fuck Carl Weathers.
Yep, and Billy Dee Williams is getting progressively more and more drunk throughout the party, and Carl Weathers is still doing his best to just be
on his best behavior, put those blinders on.
Be polite. Well, don't insult the boss's wife, but don't be too nice to the boss's wife. You know, there's a line that made me laugh here where Billy Dee Williams' drink is empty and Carl Weathers is all like, "Oh, we don't want to have an empty drink." Billy Dee Williams is all like, "Go get one of those nice bottles from behind the bar or whatever." And Carl Weathers just very quickly says like, "Do you want like the Shiraz or the Sauvignon Blanc?" And he's all like, "I don't care, just as long as it's like expensive." And Meg's all like, "I'll go with you." And then as they're leaving, Meg's all like, "Oh, you know your wines." And it's all like, lady, he said like the two white wines that everyone knows.
Yeah.
It's all those are the two varieties that everyone's heard of.
But that's Carl Weathers. That's his true passion in his life. His ambition is to get like a plot of land in Napa Valley so he can start his own vineyard.
That is true. Yes.
This is a man of culture and many, many skills.
I mean, this is also the only backstory we get from him is that he wants to own a plot of land in Napa Valley. That's his one goal.
Yeah.
That's the one goal he's given over the course of this.
But he knows machines. He knows tech. He knows his wines.
He knows wiring. Yeah.
He's a jacked motherfucker. He's the perfect man.
Yeah, and on top of all of that, yes, he has a bodybuilder's body.
Yeah.
God, his muscles are just like
insane.
I would have thought by like that. Well, no, because I guess he made like action.
He went bicep to bicep with Arnie.
He truly
in
that
Predator.
that was only 3 years previous. So he would have had the exact same body. Yep. So they go in, they meet the character of Ruby.
Yep.
Who I will say the movie subverted my expectations on this part because they introduced this I guess caretaker cook housekeeper character that is employed by Billy Dee Williams that Meg is like best friends with, and as soon as this character came on screen, I'm all like, this poor woman is doomed. And to the movie's credit, she actually survives. She actually makes it all the way through. But every time they cut back to Ruby throughout the thing, like Meg keeps calling her on the phone or whatever, I'm just all like, leave this poor fucking woman alone. You're gonna get her killed.
You're my best friend, Ruby. You're the most important person in the world.
You're the only thing I care about. It's all like, this woman's toast.
Yeah.
But she made it. She made it all the way through.
Yeah, she largely just serves to be I don't know, like a moral compass to Meg, I suppose.
Yeah.
She's like knew her from before. She was a trophy wife and just fast friends. And she gives all these stern warnings to Carl Weathers. Don't get too attached to her. Don't put her life in danger. Don't stay working for Billy Dee Williams
don't
too long.
work. Yeah, you'll never get out.
Good people tend to get sucked in his employ here.
I've seen everything.
Yeah.
This is this actress is L. Scott Caldwell, who played anytime there's an actor from Lost, I feel like I should bring that up. But yeah, no, she played Rose on Lost, who was another character that kept coming in and out, and I sort of assumed every time she popped up, I was like, oh no, is this the episode where they're going to kill Rose?
Kill her off.
And then they made it, and then spoiler alert, they were all dead anyway, and they were in limbo, and fucking what? I guess that's what happened. I don't know.
So later on, Walt and Steve show up to deliver more exposition, where they say like, okay, so off camera. We did some digging, and we found out that Abelman, or whatever, the wheelchair lawyer. He actually set up the dirty banking deal.
Yeah.
He put all of his his people in charge of that, so he's the one who's been ripping you off.
I know his name isn't actually Jack Parkin, but
Jack Parkin.
Jack Parkin is the one that screwed you over, Billy D.
He's got to go. So
yeah.
Billy Dee Williams sets up this thing where like, well, we gotta go on a fishing trip with old Wheels or whatever the fuck.
Well, he also gives up. We're being remarkably ableist to this episode. We should probably dial back.
The guy's
on
name
that.
is Abelman.
God, you're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
The movie was making the gag for me.
All right, so
Billy
give
D
the lawyer a gift of a fishing reel.
Yes,
and they say, well, like we've been meaning to go fishing. Let's go fishing. And hey, Carl Weathers, you're coming with us.
Right.
It's a guy's trip.
Before that, there's the scene where Carl Weathers has shown that he's set up like the new security system on Billy Dee Williams' beloved Bugatti or whatever, and it's like it's a wild scene because he has it like juiced up to like the nth degree where like Billy Dee Williams is about to touch his car and Carl Weathers is all like, no, don't, like, let me show you, and he puts like a tissue on it and the tissue bursts into flames.
Yeah.
And like if he was like a second later coming in that room, Billy Dee Williams would just be dead.
Yeah.
And the movie would be over
and
we would have no conflict.
And Carl Weathers would have been liable for that murder.
Yeah, it would be a completely different movie at that point. Yeah.
Second degree there. I'm surprised they didn't actually bring that back.
I was assuming that was like the Chekhov's gun of the story.
You don't set up something that elaborate and flashy without it having a payoff later on.
No, obviously we'll get to the ending when we get to the ending, but that's a great point. I really thought that was coming back at some point.
Because like I'm not that familiar with cars and certainly not older cars, so I don't know the whole practice of the supercharged thing that electrifies
running an electrical current. It feels a little James Bondy to me.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that was really kind of a thing.
Yeah, so to put something that unique in there really captures the attention. And to have it not factor into the rest of the story at all.
But it's something that like Billy D loves because, of course, as has been previously established, he has like this thing about no one's allowed to touch the car.
Yeah.
Because of what the dude did to him when he was a kid or whatever. So now he's got a dad chub. Yeah. Yes, I'm doubling down on it.
Dad chubs.
And he's loving it. He got chub from chubs, and he loves it. He loves that no one can touch the car without experiencing horrible pain. And then he's all like, "That's great, Carl. You have to leave right now. I'm gonna be touching my car to let you know, to give you an idea."
10 minutes here, bud.
Exactly.
Well, so they go on their fishing trip now, and wheelchair lawyer is on a ramp on the lake that has no railings on it.
Now, look, not to be rude. Obviously, handicapable people can do so many things.
Yes. Yes.
How do you get there? Because if he can't swim, it leads to assume that he can't drive also. So how did he get there before everyone else?
He's all alone.
No one drove him.
No.
If they did, they dropped him off. And if they did drive him, that's another problem because now there's another witness that we got to take care of. But no, truly, how did they get? No one thought about it. So like, it'll be interesting if one of these characters is in a wheelchair, and then they got to that scene, and they all, or they either didn't realize or they realized too late. It doesn't actually make any sense for him to be here before everyone else.
He got up real early in the morning and wheeled his way there. I know you got to get up early for fishing. He got up double early to get
right.
Yeah.
Unless it's like implied that like he owns property near this fishing lake or something, right? And he wasn't too far away from his house.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah. Again, I'm making assumptions, but
yeah.
All right.
But Carl Weathers says like, "You betrayed me, Fredo," and he pushes him off the wheelchair into the lake.
Billy Williams.
That's not,
you said Carl Weathers.
Let me just
see. It's not that easy. It's not as easy to keep them separate as you thought, Jameson.
All right, so. So Billy Dee Williams pushes him off his wheelchair.
He does say you betrayed me, Fredo.
Yeah,
You're right about that. That is a line of dialogue from the movie. Yes.
Yeah. So he does that, and the man drowns, and then Carl Weathers says, like, well, fuck, I'm like an accessory to murder now.
Yeah.
So this is how I get people to work for me, Billy Dee Williams says.
It's all about favors, and now I owe you a favor, and then you'll owe me a favor, and it'll just keep going forever and ever.
And that's how it works in America, and like that's all such chilling dialogue. I just wish that there wasn't an airplane going overhead during this.
Didn't notice.
Did you
didn't notice
pick
it? Didn't notice.
It was like this loud ass,
yeah,
airplane going overhead, and I was like, "You guys don't maybe want to like retake
this
scene?"
We're do another take. No, that's realism.
Sometimes, regrettably,
it's necessary to expel a family member.
Well, I'm not a part of your family.
You are now. And grab the tackle and the rest of the gear. I'll see you back at the house. I'll go back to Walton Street.
And then they leave Carl Weathers behind to, like, I guess, clean up or whatever.
Destroy the car or whatever.
And
this old man comes by, old man Wilkins, the other fisherman, because this whole time, and this kind of goes back to what we were saying with, like, how he got there, if he lived there. I thought this fishing hole was on the property of Billy Dee Williams. I guess it's just a public fucking...
No, it's just a public hole, because, they have to drive to get there.
Yeah.
So, I don't think Billy Dee Williams owns this property or whatever. My assumption was that Wheelchair Lawyer maybe had, like, property near the lake, because but even then he'd have to, like, wheel through, like, grass and dirt and shit, so, like, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense.
Got the all-terrain wheels, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, but Carl Weathers is left behind, so there's this one old man witness, obviously, when they find the buck.
You're getting up early to go fishing, I see. Hey, that's a nice car you got there. Hey, you look like Apollo Creed. I saw you fight Rocky Balboa.
Leaving immediately without saying anything to me, or in fact making eye contact at all? All right, well, I'll clock that way away for later.
Fuck, we got an eyewitness now, even though he doesn't... Even though, there's not a scene of, like, the old man fishing out, like, a wheelchair out of the lake. It's...
Can you describe the man that you saw? Yeah, can you imagine the biggest fucking guy? He's so huge. He had, like, biceps for days. If he grasped hands with Arnold Schwarzenegger, they'd be, like, midair for, like, 10 seconds.
He looked like Lando Calrissian with war muscles. Anyways, back at
except taller and 10 years younger. That's the weird thing, is Carl Weathers died first, but Billy Dee is 10 years older than he is. Yeah.
All right.
Isn't that funny how that happens sometimes?
Yeah, it's a riot.
It's all that Colt 45. Billy Dee Williams
love those ads. Love those fucking ads.
His insides are pickled.
That's the fucking energy that Billy Dee Williams brings to this role. It's those old Colt 45 ads that works every time.
Billy Dee Williams did ads for Colt 45, still alive. Carl Weathers did ads for Bud Light, passed away.
What's that tell you?
What does that say, America?
So Carl Weathers shows up back at the mansion. He sees that Meg has a big bruise on her face. She says, "I'm getting out of here, and you should too." And he's like, "No, I got 8 more months of earning some money." And then he promised me that I'm out. He notices the bruise, thinks that's the hottest thing in the world, and they start necking and hardcore caressing
in the garage. Every place that these two have, like, very public makeout sessions / sex sessions is all like a public space where anyone could notice them at any point in time. They are not. But their passion is dangerous.
It is.
And that's what it is. It's the certainly for Meg, it's the danger that gets her off more than anything. That's the thrill of almost being caught.
Oh, I mean, now that she has this affair with Carl Weathers, her personality shifts, I'd say, a little.
Yes, she becomes a different character entirely. Yes.
She goes from being, just terrified of her husband's shadow and just desperate to get away from him to, like, oh, isn't it such a thrill that we're doing this right under his nose?
You could charitably say this is a poorly written female character.
Yes.
But they have sex in a car, and there's a brief topless scene. I don't know how that made it on TV. I'm assuming maybe that's whatever version we were watching was like a release.
The director's cut.
The director's cut, yeah.
The director should have cut a whole lot more.
Yes. No, maybe they cut around that for, like, TV, and then for, like, whatever home video release they added the boobies back in. They could have put that on the DVD cover. Let me know. But anyway, that happens. Yeah, and Carl Weathers confronts Billy Dee Williams, saying, like, I still don't like that you made me an accessory of a murder, and now there's, like, a witness. He says something. He says, like, this spells blackmail. And then Billy Dee Williams says, no, baby, this spells America. And I'm all like, all right, there's some okay lines in this this shitty TV movie. What happens after that? This is around the time that, like, Carl Weathers starts making plans to, like, abscond with Billy Dee's wife, and Billy Dee is sort of, like, threatening him or whatever. He brings him into his office. He says, I see you're admiring this dagger. It's the thing that evil people do. It's like, I see you admiring this dagger. And I'm like, Well, I can see you're holding a dagger and you're using it to slice an apple menacingly.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't say I'm admiring it, but I certainly notice when someone's holding a weapon.
Yeah. Hey, get that guy who my wife is interested in and who's been spending a lot of time with. Send him into my office. I'm just going to be carving an apple. I'm going to be slicing an apple when he comes in, and I'm going to give him vague warnings. Again, points out this antique Afghan dagger or whatever, and I'm like, well, that's gotta come back in as well, right? It's just like the electrical car.
Does it?
The dagger does not come back.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I forgot that too, Yeah, if in movies, if anyone is ever shown slicing an apple with a knife, you can be absolutely certain of two things. One, no piece of that apple will be eaten, and they're just slicing it. Or two, they will eat exactly one piece of the apple, but it will be like on the knife.
Yeah.
They'll like bring the blade up to their mouth, and like every time they eat it, I'm all like, "Oh, you're gonna cut yourself."
Yeah.
That's.
But he doesn't care.
There's never a scene where someone cuts an apple with a knife and then cuts it into little wedges and like puts it in a baggie and saves it for later. No, they always eat it in the most absurd way that no one has ever eaten an apple before that way.
So, Billy Dee Williams, I love how we keep calling him by the actors, like as if this is just what the actors' daily lives
because their names are Kyle and Lou. Those are boring.
Yeah, it's true.
How many times do they say Kyle in this movie? 105?
A lot,
A
yeah.
lot of time. Most of the dialogue is just people saying, Kyle?
Yeah. So Lou tells Kyle that, hey, just do this one last job. I want you to hook up a new security system at my office, and then you're out.
It's
Then
like
you're
his
free.
it's like his warehouse full of stolen antiques.
I think that's
Is what I got from it.
Yeah, I think that's his
Front?
Yeah, it's his front. Thank you.
Yeah, down by the docks.
It's like a old antique wholesale warehouse or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how he washes his money.
Yeah. So he sets up another meeting there. The wife is there, and she's again really fucking pushing it. Like,
Billy Dee Williams walks out of the room for like half a second. The second he leaves, she is jumping Carl Weathers' bones. She's all like, "Fuck me on this antique couch,"
Yeah.
and he's all like,
What are you doing, you crazy bitch?
You'll get me murdered. He will shoot me in the head."
And she's like, "Oh."
"What are you doing?"
It's like, oh, live a little, have some fun. Like, isn't this fun? And it's like, do you not care about your safety anymore? Do you not care about this man's well-being? Don't stick your dick in crazy, guys. This is what's happening to poor Carl Weathers.
But he does. Somehow she.
And he does it again.
Somehow she talks him into continuing to do it, and then
they do it on like a couch in the warehouse somewhere,
Yeah.
just like underneath some shelving, and then like here comes one of his.
Here comes White Goon, and,
Yeah,
it's all like, "Oh, did you almost get caught, you dumb fuckers?" Yeah.
He's like, Kyle, where are you? Oh, there you are. And they're just the way that they're positioned after he comes around the corner. They're like, he's like still doing up his pants.
Oh,
and
you're
she's, like,
tucking
straightening out her
you're
skirt.
tucking your shirt into your pants while standing next to the boss's wife while next to this couch. Anyway, the boss wants to see you.
There you are.
Yeah.
You two look like you were doing something unconspicuous.
This guy knows what's up.
Yeah.
He no dummy.
He's
He
not
knows.
about to rat out
No,
the
exactly.
girl.
He's
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
Goon
No, he's
sympathy.
not.
Well, he's not. No, because
No.
eventually he tries to kill Kyle.
Yeah.
But that's
So just as Carl Weathers is doing the final touch-ups, that's when Jack Carmen, the real Jack Carmen,
He's here!
he shows up.
He was parking the entire time. That's why I got confused. He was parking his car. Yeah, he shows it, and he's all like, "This is my old buddy Jack. He came up through the ranks just like you, but he's been away for a while." And it's all like, "Oh, here's someone else that took the fall for Billy Dee Williams." But he's a rotter. He's no good. This Jack.
Yeah, he's really drank the Kool-Aid on this. He's fully embraced the lifestyle. And
I wrote down Bobo John C. McGinley for this guy because he's got that energy. He's got that Dr. Cox energy. Maybe it's just because he has very piercing blue eyes. As we know, whenever you cast like these goon characters with piercing blue eyes, you can really see.
I
You
didn't
notice it.
I didn't get hardened criminal hitman from this guy.
No, not really.
I didn't I don't know. I don't know who I got from him, but it wasn't that dangerous killer vibe. I don't know.
No, great. Yeah, whatever. They had to
whatever,
They had to fill out these roles.
Sure,
You
yeah.
can't get a Billy D every time. So yeah.
But yeah, it's once Carl Weathers leaves the room, it's like Billy Dee Williams He finds out that wheelchair lawyer's body was found.
Oh, yeah.
Not by the old fisherman man.
At like a quinceanera, which is funny. It said it washed up on a Sweet 16 birthday party.
So why set up...
Quinceanera's 13, sorry.
So why set up the fucking old man at the fishing hole if he's not going to discover the body?
Well, he could.
It's just...
He could have.
He could have.
Yeah.
No, a lot of things could have happened with
A lot of
this movie.
things. We could have not watched this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now he's like, okay, well, the only people that can tie me to this are my wife and Carl Weathers, so we got to kill them both.
Right.
Carl Weathers is frantically packing his bags, and that's when Meg shows up for yet another tryst. And he's like, holy shit, you're a crazy bitch. Why don't you leave me alone? And she's like, I have your baby in me, Carl Weathers.
Which is yet another... added to the list of things that are mentioned and you assume are going to become important but kind of aren't. I think it is... It is largely implied, it is never outright stated, but it is largely implied that Meg might be lying about this.
I 100% believe that she...
Because when they're on the run and they're in like 3 of 6 motels that this movie is shot at, there's like a moment where she's all like, let's celebrate, let's get champagne, and Carl Weathers is all like,
what about the baby?
What about the baby? She's like, oh yeah. But like it never comes to anything. We never. It feels like a little bit of manipulation on her part to get Carl
100
Weathers to do what she wants him to do.
She seems like the kind of crazy lady that would fake a pregnancy to keep a good guy around.
Yeah. I mean, look, this character has obviously been through a lot. She's a deeply traumatized person.
Sure.
She has reasons for acting the way that she does. She just comes off as TV movie crazy lady, unfortunately, because this movie isn't interested in delving into the emotional backstory of Meg. It is quite unfortunate that they named the character Meg with a modern sensibility, because about half of my notes are just me writing, "Shut up, Meg."
Yeah, that's what they were trying to go for. But yeah, I mean, I think it just kind of says it all when they're lying in bed together at one point, and she is like, "Oh, I love you so much, and things will be fine. I love you so much." And Carl Weathers' response is, "Yeah, sure."
I love you so much. Everything's gonna be fine now.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He's in it for like the easy sex.
He is straddling the line between like, I'm all in on this woman is having my baby, and where can I dump this person? How can I get away?
Yeah.
And with every subsequent day that he is on the lam with Meg, every subsequent day he's all like, I've made a horrible mistake.
Yeah.
This is not... How can I get out of this?
I don't want to be complicit in this woman's murder. However, if this lady were out of the picture, a lot of my problems would be over. And he just looks miserable. And you hate to see Apollo Creed like this.
Right. And there's a thing where it's like he was only working for Billy Dee in the first place because he was trying to get enough money to buy his land in Napa or whatever. And like Billy Dee keeps saying like, yeah, I deposited all this money into your account. Look, here's like the receipts or whatever. The very first time that Carl Weathers tries to withdraw the money and bounce and leave town, it turns out that
and he's like, it's need to co-sign.
Yeah, Billy Dee has to like co-sign so he can actually get his money. So,
Like a snake.
Lou tricked him. He actually can't have access to any of this money, and he has no intention letting him leave town. So yeah, Carl, I think, clocks that Frank is on their trail.
Yep.
That's his name, right? Frank.
Yep. Yeah. So he and Meg.
No, Jack Parkin.
Right.
What
yeah.
am I saying?
Yeah. So Carl and Meg, they need to get away from this dangerous criminal madman, and their best way of going into hiding is to drive around with the top down, no disguises. They need to go into hiding.
Well, their first way of shaking off Stephen Walt is they take Meg and Ruby to the shopping mall, and then the two of them sneak out the back where Carl Weathers is waiting, and then Carl takes Meg to like go to like drive away to their airport or whatever. He has a big complicated plan or whatever. But then in between that, they just drop Ruby off at her house, and it's like, you were with her. She's immediately complicit in this. And it's like the most that ever happens is we learn that like Lou sent some goons to dig through Ruby's trash so that they can find
and tap her phone
to find like a postcard that she left behind. But it's like, Billy Dee's like a violent criminal. He would torture this woman to find out what information she got. But
or hold her as a captive, so bring him out of hiding.
No, but Ruby just gets to go home and live the rest of her life. Thankfully, I'm not arguing that this character should have been killed, but it's like. It's weird how you guys didn't have any contingency plans set up for Ruby's safety. It's just fortunate that Billy Dee just let her go.
Even more so that they put more innocent people in danger for this.
They do.
Because Carl Weathers' plan is they know that I have friends in Napa Valley. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them misleading postcards or whatever.
We send Ruby a postcard from Napa Valley that I sent to someone in Napa Valley, and then they sent it to Ruby.
Yeah.
Just to get super duper complicated here.
Their way of covering their tracks. And also they find this young couple that they set up with a credit card in his name to go to Napa Valley and set up a paper trail.
100%. Like if they follow the paper trail or whatever and they find that couple, Lou's killing that couple.
Absolutely.
The movie doesn't confirm this, but again, I've seen a movie before. I know how gangster minds work. Clearly, They're
going to take a look at that and we were barking up the wrong
tree. There is collateral.
All right, you're free to go. No, that is not how these
maybe
people operate.
Who knows? Maybe they do operate that way.
Innocent mistake.
Well, given the fact that they let Ruby live, even though there's no logical reason why they should, but
that wily Action Jackson pulled a fast one on us.
Oh, I should mention this. This was the other bit of trivia that I found in the IMDb boards or whatever. We are obviously no stranger to movies with alternate titles here, but in some foreign markets, this movie is actually credited as Action Jackson 2.
Oh, whoa!
They're some foreign markets are trying to sell you a bill of goods.
That is flagrant false advertising.
Well, yeah, I would say that the first clue to clue you in that this is not Action Jackson 2 is that he plays a character named Kyle. I don't know if you know this, but in the movie Action Jackson, he plays a character named Action Jackson. His first name Action. Maybe
this is a prequel series to that, or failing that, a prequel series to the Shadow Warriors.
Oh God, they're all connected. It's the Carl Weathers cinematic universe. Every character he played is the same character.
All right. At one point, they're sleeping over at one of the other motels that Meg hates staying at. And in the fucking middle of the night, she sneaks off unescorted to go get a can of soda.
Right.
While Jack is outside waiting for her. She turns around at the right moment to see him, and she screams her fucking head off.
Some weird ass Michael Myers shit here, where Jack is stalking her through a foggy parking lot or whatever, and then she screams her fucking head off, and Carl Weathers comes out of the motel, and by the time they turn around, Jack has mysteriously vanished into the fog. But it's is he purposefully toying with them, or is he just a bad hitman?
Both.
This movie didn't think too hard about
there's your opportunity to kill the dumber of the two people you have to kill, and he doesn't take it. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been so easy. Kill him, then knock on the door. Carl Weathers wakes up, sees that she's not in bed, assumes that it's just her at the door, and then when he opens the door, you fucking kill him. There you go.
He's falling for all of Carl Weathers' tricks. He follows that bus all the way to Napa. Yeah. That's another thing. There's a time inconsistency going on here.
Yeah, they don't,
because in the span, I don't know exactly where this.
It's implied that time has happened over the course of Jack looking for these guys.
Weeks to a month have passed as Jack kind of goes back and forth between Napa Valley, following up on these.
And it's all nothing's happening in Napa. I've checked everywhere. I've checked all the nightclubs. They're not anywhere. All right, fine. I guess I'll stay in Napa. Yeah. But then eventually he finds. That's the thing. I wasn't wrong about this, right? Carl Weathers' plan is to let Jack think that he saw them get on a Greyhound, but also drive to the airport and then take a cab. They never leave, right? They're continually
they're hiding in plain sight.
They're hiding in plain sight, so that no one will find them. Even though, as you point out, someone finds them eventually because they are driving in a convertible. Yeah, yes. That is probably their first mistake.
Yeah.
Yes. Both the cop from earlier flags them down. Is all hey, trying to escape justice, huh?
Again, if you need any help,
you have my card. All right, see you at the end of the movie.
We know you're involved in some dangerous activity, and we can help you.
And then Walt and Jack Parkin are driving around later on, and they literally just drive past him. Is all oh, there they are, fuck. And then a car chase happens. So they go to this diner, which I guess is near one of the motels that they're staying at. This was a little bit of production design that I know. I always love this. This always tickles me when I see this on like real life restaurants too, where it's like on someone has like literally painted on the outside of the building, like on one side of the door it's like food and drink, and on the other side of the door there's all like, well, I gotta fill this out, so they wrote ham and eggs. And that always tickles me whenever I see like any restaurant do that, where they just put one menu item on like the outside of the building.
It's their specialty.
But it's like there isn't a restaurant in the world whose speciality is ham and eggs. It's like the easiest thing in the world to make. I see that and I picture like the most easily impressed truck driver of all time. It's like, whoa, hold on.
Thank God.
Ham and eggs?
Together at last.
In this economy? My God. He goes inside. Salt and pepper?
Yeah.
My word. I'm in the Taj Mahal.
So Meg makes a point to give a phone call to Ruby on her birthday.
Yes.
Just let her know that she's safe and all that. Big mistake, because as we mentioned before, Ruby's phone was tapped, which we find out when she hears a click before Ruby hangs up. So I always like that as a nice touch.
It's actually a detail I missed, Jameson. I'm glad you noticed that. Yeah. I mean, they found them eventually. I assume they found them because they were driving around and they're all like, oh, fuck, there they are.
Well, and that's how Jack knows to start snooping around that one diner.
Sure.
And that's a big fucking mistake of Carl Weathers, where it's like, what are you guys doing going to the same fucking diner every day?
Yes.
If you're on the run from some dangerous people, you're doing the right things. Cash only wherever you go. Not going out alone. Like hopping around to different districts. You gotta go to a different fucking diner or restaurant every day. Don't be a familiar face anywhere.
We know that they've been to that diner multiple times because on their last trip to the diner, Meg says to Kyle, it's all like, whatever you do, don't order the Eggs Benedict, which implies that she has ordered the Eggs Benedict before.
Yeah.
And also, looking at that diner, I could have told you don't order the Eggs Benedict there. I bet they don't even have a vinegar reduction in their hollandaise. I bet they don't. They don't even take the time. Just boil down a little vinegar, some shallots, black peppercorns.
Sensitive subject here.
It gives it adds the acidity necessary for a hollandaise not to split, but also it gives it that little zip, gives it that little zing that it really needs.
All right, this has been Breakfast Tips with Kaz Leskar.
This has been Eggs Benedict Corner, a new segment that will be in every episode from now on.
All right.
So they go to the diner.
Yeah, Jack shows up and shivs Meg, and that's the end of our fucking female lead in this movie.
Well, sort of. Well, yes, Jameson, but there's an asterisk to that.
Oh, yes. There happens to be a witness to Meg's stabbing and her fatal stabbing.
Now, Jameson, did you recognize this actress?
No.
If you are a fan of Carl Weathers, you probably would have recognized this actress.
Is it the lady from Predator?
It is the one woman from the movey Predator.
Oh,
yes.
shit! No, I didn't recognize her.
She has a very difficult to pronounce name, so my apologies. Her name is Elfidia Carrillo, and I'm apologizing if I said that wrong, but yes, 3 years previous to this, yes, they starred together in the film Predator.
Wow, so she got out. Good for her.
She got out, and she made it, and now she's working at this diner, and Carl Weathers got her another guy. I don't know if that's coincidence or if Carl Weathers got her a gay. Let's call it a coincidence. Yeah. I don't know, but that's her.
Yeah,
and weirdly, in the last 25 minutes of this movie,
the plot changes.
She becomes the main character. Well, she becomes the female lead. It's very odd. It's a very weird time to introduce this character who becomes the victim, the thing that he's trying to solve because Meg just gets shivved and dies. And it's like this weird thing because both Kyle and the audience are kind of getting tired of this woman. We didn't want her to die horribly, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, now we feel bad for hating her.
If anything, he's like, well, shit, my running away from Billy Dee Williams just got a hell of a lot easier because he's not going to be compromising everything and second-guessing my every decision.
But no, she plays this waitress character who we quickly find out is an illegal immigrant. Angela is the character's name. And and obviously she runs away from the scene because if they start asking questions, obviously she's going to get deported to Central America, she says.
Where the Predator still is.
That's right. I can't go back.
Can't go back.
Arnold got me out. I can't go back.
So Carl Weathers waits for the cops, but Of course, it's Billy Dee Williams' word against this, and he's like, "Oh well, Carl Weathers was obsessed with my wife, and he kidnapped her."
Yeah, it doesn't help Kyle. It doesn't help Kyle that he literally absconded with this man's wife. So
Yeah.
yes, any statements he has to make to the police are going to be colored a certain way after this point. So now the plot becomes finding this woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
There are 25 minutes left of this movie, and now it has become like this witness protection story.
It starts out with a bang when Carl Weathers leaps out of a second floor motel window.
Yeah.
Where we don't see him land. So
Yeah, he's about to get arrested. That is right. He almost is about to get arrested, and then he runs away from the cop. He beats up the arresting officer, and then he runs away from the cops easily.
Yeah.
It's like there are a lot of cops there, and he gets away immediately.
So here's a problem that I have with this movie.
Okay.
In all these kinds of movies where there's this super capable, jacked guy who's working these Joe contractor jobs, they usually explain like he has a backstory in, say, Special Forces or the Marines.
Yeah.
He knows how to handle himself in a fight and escape capture. What do we know about this guy?
Nothing.
Yeah.
We learn that he wants to own property in Napa.
Yeah.
That's literally it.
He's jacked because he keeps in shape.
He's jacked because he's Carl Weathers.
That's right.
Yes.
But we don't have anything set up that explains, oh yeah, he was in the military, or he was like this former tough guy, and now he's just trying to get by doing odd jobs.
Right.
And we don't question why he can handle himself in these dangerous
I
situations.
think the shorthand here that you're supposed to imply is that, like, if you have a main character who has muscles on muscles, he's probably good at fighting.
Yeah.
You know, because otherwise it's like a situation where, like, they fucking, like, it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Junior.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just a scientist and I wear sweater vests. I'm very much in love with Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
Why do you look like that?
But
Don't worry about it.
But now this is just a situation where he's an average guy caught in a desperate
Yeah.
situation, and he's just using his wits and tenacity to
Yes.
get out of jams. And it helps that he's the most jacked human being in the movie.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and it helps him get away. Yeah. Yeah, so at this point, at some point in time, Angela gets caught by the bad guys. And now Billy Dee Williams has a hostage at his mansion. So now obviously the end of the movie is pretty obvious. The writing's on the wall. Carl Weathers has to infiltrate Billy Dee Williams's. It's not his mansion. No, it's like the antiques
store.
thing. Yes,
Yeah.
but still, he's still the guy who did all the security for it.
Yeah,
so
he knows the insides, and now he
it's
knows
literally
how to
no
destroy.
problem for him to get into this building.
He got his hand on some plastique somehow, and he kind of knows everything about demolition, so he knows how to destroy his perfect system.
And once again, none of the goons that Billy Dee Williams has hired are taking their job seriously.
Yeah.
They're all like, oh, the pizza's here. Hey, how about all of us go to get the pizza? How about every available guard go to get the pizza all at the same time?
Yeah. And because he's fucking Apollo Creed, he single-handedly destroys every single one of these guys, except for Steve.
Well, Steve gets knocked out. I don't think he dies.
Wait, which one is Steve? Was he the black guy or the
Steve
white?
is the black guy.
Okay. Yeah, so Carl Weathers is using him as a human shield, but Steve gets away.
That's right. He does die.
And
Yes.
as he's running towards
yes.
Billy Dee Williams, who's like around the corner or hiding in his office, he goes, "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!
It's me, Steve!
It's me, Steve! Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" He says that like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And what is Billy Dee Williams?
just blows him away.
He just blows him away.
Because he's the villain. Exactly.
Mr. Jordan! Mr. Jordan, don't shoot!
I know I'm not usually the one to bring up Family Guy bits on this show, but
Sure.
it reminded me so much of that cutaway where Peter Griffin goes hunting with Dick Cheney. and he just gets
What's going to happen here?
He just gets shot like 1,000 fucking times for like over the course of a minute, and then Dick Cheney goes, "Oh, sorry, I thought you were a deer."
Right.
So yeah, Billy Dee Williams has Angela at gunpoint, again, human shield thing, but Carl Weathers has a plan. See,
the only thing that Billy Dee loves in this world.
He brought back the car, and he's like wired like a detonator on it or something. And he's like, "We'll make a trade, the car for the girl." So we get an idea of what Billy Dee values.
A sentence said to any other people would be the most absurd thing ever, but Billy Dee immediately just starts sweating bullets and just all like, no, my baby, not that. So much of my semen is in that car. Please, no, I can't.
My one true love.
Yeah, so they make the trade, and he throws him the detonator. Now this is what we were talking about earlier, where like
the classic villain monologue.
he should have been like hoisted by his own petard. Yeah, this is great. He brings back the thing where he says earlier, where he parrots what Carl Weathers' line earlier was all like, "You just got a first name. Your name is Kyle. You don't even have a last name."
That's why guys like me beat the system, because I'm Mr. Billy Dee Williams.
Billy D puts so much.
Makes every line a meal.
He puts so much shine on this line. It's all like, "Not me. I'm Mr. Jordan." Like, he loves it. He's great. He's having a great time.
Just like hold the camera on him for a minute, and he'll give you gold.
You want to know why it wasn't such a bad deal? Because winners don't make bad deals. Losers, Kyle, losers like you make bad deals. Do the time. Like you said, the guys who are called by their first name do time. I don't. I'm Mr. Jordan. The guys who are called Mr. can afford lawyers. Lawyers get appeals. Hell, I'm in the middle of the 21st century with appeals before I even get to a courtroom. You learn nothing. Nothing.
Now, from my perspective, two things should have happened here.
Yeah.
The most shocking thing about all of this is that Billy Dee Williams survives this movie.
Yeah.
He is the villain. We see him doing like wholly despicable acts. We don't even see him get arrested at the end of the movie. There's just the implication that Kyle will talk to the officer and then he'll get the evidence.
That after Carl Weathers gives his witness statement, corroborated by Angela, that he will get arrested. Not necessarily that he'll get prosecuted, not necessarily that he'll see jail time.
Right.
Just that he will have to get booked for the night.
So
he can still hire the best lawyers. He can still...
he drowned his best lawyer, so he's going to have to... Yeah, he's all like, I shouldn't have killed that lawyer.
There are non-drowned lawyers.
In the universe where I assumed Billy Dee Williams, the villain of this movie, would get his just desserts and be killed at the end of this movie, I assumed one of two things was going to happen. One, Carl Weathers throws him the detonator for the car, and then he's all like, haha, the car won't blow up because now I have the detonator. And then Carl Weathers leaves the building with Angela. He turns back, he's all like, hey, Lou. And then it turns out the bomb was in the detonator. And then Billy D blows up in the office or whatever. That's scenario number one, I assume was going to happen. Number two, the fucking Chekhov's Bugatti of the situation where he's all like, haha, I got my car, it's not gonna blow up, everything's turning up roses.
He gets into the car and
he just touches it and then it electrocutes him. He turns into a skeleton man and he dies.
Because that'd be a good payoff.
That would be a great payoff. Yeah. Neither of those things happen. It just turns out Kyle had a second detonator and he blows up the car. And that's the comeuppance that Billy Dee Williams gets, is that his toy blows up.
My Bugatti, he says.
He probably won't see any jail time, but his car blew up,
which is the most important.
And isn't that worth all the human life that we previously mentioned?
Billy Dee Williams,
absolutely.
He values that car more than he values people. It was his raison d'etre since he was a young boy. It's a status symbol to him.
The woman who I had feelings for a brief amount of time and maybe was carrying my child has been avenged. Case closed, and then credits, and then almost immediately credits, where Carl Weathers walks over to the cop and is all like, "We should talk."
The final lines in this movie are that friendly detective, whatever, comes by, and Angela says, "Oh, if I give my testimony, I'll be sent back to Central America."
And Carl Weathers just says, like, "Don't worry about it; it'll be fine." It's all like, "Will it? I think that's a complicated situation, Carl."
It's all about making deals. Yeah, that is absolutely the sort of thing where the detective on the case is like, "Yeah, that's not really my department.
I said I would help you. This is like an entirely other person."
Yeah, this is a case of the city versus this one guy. Immigration's kind of federal. They're kind of above my pay grade.
Yeah.
Sorry, lady.
And then that's deadly passion, like dangerous passion. No, this is fully a fucking deal of your life type episode where I am not going to remember the name of this movie.
It's not worth remembering the name of this movie.
No. But, Jameson, did you think this movie had a certain something? Or did you, on the other hand, to be contrary, find it to be a whole lot of nothing?
If I were passionateless on this, I mean, outside of some just delightful Billy Dee Williams scene scenery, I didn't really care for this.
I didn't care for it, but I also didn't hate it. If I was in like 1990s and I was literally just like breezing through TV stations,
You'd watch this whole thing?
I might have it on in the background.
Okay.
You know, I might flip back to it when the other show I was watching went to commercial.
Okay.
You know, and it's all like, let's see what Billy D and Carl are up to. Oh, they're talking about cars. All right, cool. It's fine. It's totally fine. If you want to see specifically these two actors together, it's the only game in town. So it was neat. It was neat to see them share screen together, and it was a good reminder that even when Carl Weathers' career wasn't exactly like blowing up the box office or anything like that, and he was doing like TV movies and stuff of that nature, he still looked amazing. He was still like...
That's not really enough to save the movie for me.
I guess not, but I don't know. If you just want to see like a good-looking man with his shirt off, there you go. It can help you there.
It really did harken back to the era of those like lower mid-tier budget thriller movies.
Usually on
TNT,
TNT.
yeah. Where there's like maybe one car chase if you're lucky, you know, a gunfight between one guy and 3 other men that's over in like 2 minutes. Yeah, it was quaint that way. Yeah, like the moments of character drama between Billy Dee and Carl Weathers carried the movie, but in more of a cheesy way, I thought, than sort of the high tense moments that I think this movie was hoping it would get. And also the movie felt like it was very misleading, because it kept seeming like it was trying to set up these things that were going to be important later on, but then they never came back and impacted the story anyways. And also, I just could not stand Meg as a character.
And it was weird.
I got so mad at her so many times throughout this movie.
It's like like I mentioned before, it's a really weird archetype for a character to have, where it's all like, God, this character sucks. Man, I wish something would happen to this character. Oh no, never mind, I take it back. Oh, I didn't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Fuck, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
Did I manifest this? Yeah, it is very strange. Yeah. Yeah, but no, that character is very annoying. That character is very badly written. But yeah, this is fine.
Okay.
You know, whatever. I wouldn't recommend that you watched it, but if it was in front of your eyes, I wouldn't say, you know, like pour bleach on them or anything. It's fine. It's totally fine. It's a TV movie from the 90s. What do you want from us?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you
yeah.
You asked for it, people.
You asked for it. You demanded it. Literally, no one demanded anything from us. We don't have that type of engagement with the audience. But yes, rest in peace, Carl Weathers. I'm sure you'll come up on this show again, because, you know, you, as previously mentioned, you're in a bunch of stuff. Of course, whenever I run down the filmographies these days, I generally leave out a lot of the anonymous movies. I just kind of like cover the hits. So, you know, there's some, although it was
the stuff I could weigh in on.
It was hard. It was harder than I thought to find a Carl Weathers movie to talk about.
Yeah.
But still, R.I.P. You're one of the greats. Gone too soon. And
way too soon. Yeah.
And then join us next week when we when we will tribute the life of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, who almost certainly was murdered under the direction of Vladimir Putin. We'll be covering 3 episodes, three episodes on the Oscar-winning documentary Navalny. They'll all be about that.
We're not doing any of this.
We're not doing any of this.
Jesus Christ.
That is fucked up, though, that they got him. That really sucks. Anyway, that was Dangerous Passions. No, next week we'll be talking about TV movies turned pilots. Like we mentioned, we got a couple of those, so that's going to be fun. But
we got some stuff.
We got some stuff. One we got to talk about when we're off mic, because it is really straining the format in which we talk about things here, but I'm not against the idea. I want to say for the record, I'm not against the idea that you posited the other day, but we do need to talk about the logistics of doing it. But anyway, that was Dangerous Passions from 1990, directed by Michael Murphy. That's his name, right? Michael something or other. If you like this episode, please check out our other episodes. We are on Spotify and YouTube. If you can follow us on all of the social media, we are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can follow me on Letterboxd Letterboxd, I'm Kaz Lesgard. My avatar currently right now is Willem Dafoe in the upcoming Robert Eggers' film Nosferatu, where he has like a fancy top hat and he's laughing maniacally. Can't wait for that movie.
My name is Jameson Raptor. You can see all my animated stuff on my YouTube channel, Uptown Slim Jim. My avatar icon is a cartoon version of me doing a double thumbs up.
You can see because it's the cartoon avatar for this podcast, which you're looking at right now on your feed. And that was it for Nothing Movies. I'm Kaz.
I'm Jameson, and in the immortal words of Carl Weathers,
it's all in the hips.
We didn't plan that.
We didn't plan that. I know him too.
No one's gonna believe us.
No, 100% not planned at all.